Hello there, and welcome back to Boardroom Insights. This is episode 4 of a series during the month of August in 2025, where I'm doubling down on my 7 steps of profit, in particular, step number 6, which is proposition. And for those of you that know me, you'll know that proposition, I use a 3-legged stool to describe it. The 3-legged stool is made up of product, people, and place. Ultimately, what I'm saying is that your customers judge you on all 3 elements. Far too many organizations believe that product is their only opportunity for differentiation or for developing a USP, unique selling proposition. I believe your customers are judging you on all 3, and it is possible for you to have a USP within each of the 3 steps. You will have heard in episode 1 where I gave the whole picture and the context for the 3-legged stool. Episode 2 is where I doubled down on product in particular. And yes, you can get USPs and product alone, and I've given you a checklist already within that episode. The 3rd episode is where I doubled down on people. And here we looked at how people can make a really big difference. That if you get your people singing and dancing in the right way in terms of how they interact with your customers, they can be the differentiator for you. Even in a world where your products, especially in a world where your products are available from competitors, your people can make the difference, can draw customers to you just because of their behavior. Today, I want to double down on place because it is, again, an often forgotten element of the overall proposition. Now, I do appreciate that the 3 legs are different weighting. Like in some cases, product is more important. I get that. In other cases, people might be more important. Not so many cases where place is the most important, but it can happen. Nevertheless, we can't ignore it. And today I want to go deeper into what do I mean by place. Now, of course, if you're a B2C business, well, it's kind of obvious. It's your physical premises. And we're going to break that down under subheadings, like a little mini checklist of things to consider. But there's also, we want to focus in on digital and online and how place can influence your customers online. And the 3rd part of place is for those B2B organizations out there who don't have a physical premises, but maybe they're a distributor where they're selling products to retailers, for example. So in such cases, in the world of B2B, place is more about your route to market. Whether you're a professional services firm or whether you're a distribution company or a manufacturing company, it doesn't matter. You got to think through, what does route to market look like? What does place actually mean? So let's take them in turn. So I'm going to start with physical place for those in the world of B2C. So it might be you've got a restaurant, or it could be that you're a retail store, or it could be a hotel, but whatever it might be. And here I want to just tell you about the most amazing book that will going to help you in this world. I've been involved in retail for more than 50 years, actually. And my life was transformed in the context of retail, particularly when I read a book, and I'm going back here nearly 25 years at least. Because before that, I always had an appreciation of the importance of physical store and layout and signage and all that kind of stuff. But my mind was blown wide open when I read a book by my friend Paco Underhill, who's a well-known retail anthropologist. He's probably in the top 5 retailers around the world. And he himself has written a number of books now all around the science of shopping. And it's an incredibly powerful book because he focuses essentially on the physical layout of a store. And it's a book that's well worth your while checking out. It's called Why We Buy by Paco Underhill. And his follow-up book then was Call of the Mall, which was now where he looked at malls, as they call them in the US, or shopping centers, and particularly from the customer's perspective. So the importance of physical layout cannot be underestimated. Yes, of course, there are the basics like standards and housekeeping and so on. But how he goes into things like signage and lighting and positioning and print sizes on packaging and the width of vials, and it's just incredibly powerful. I couldn't do it justice here. In fact, he will be on a future podcast and we'll hear some particulars from the man himself, but I couldn't possibly match his repertoire of things to consider. But let's just touch on a few things in particular. First impressions, because when your customers come into your premises, they are making instantly judgments about what they see in terms of the atmosphere, the lighting, the color, the cleanliness, the hygiene, the signage, the look and the feel, generally speaking, and the flow. Also think about navigation and layout within. If you've got a large environment, is it easy for your customers to navigate? First of all, to be able to make sense of your layout. Will they know where the bar is, where the elevators are, or where the bread is in your store? Make it easy for them that they can see. And if you are a big property, quality signage at the macro level, but also at the micro level. Be very, very careful. Cleanliness and maintenance is such a basic that you might wonder, why am I even mentioning it? Well, unfortunately, many organizations slip up in this regard. They're just not as tight as they need to be in the housekeeping and hygiene department. There shouldn't be any clutter, no broken fixtures that are sending the wrong message about your brand, in addition to all of the basics like cleanliness, hygiene. And that applies to every part of your business, right through to the toilets, and even to the stock rooms that you might say, well, customers don't see them. But what's that saying? If you've got a very messy stock room and you're trying to have the store tidy, the message for your own people is mixed. You're allowing them to be sloppy in the back and you're expecting them to be tight and tidy in the front. The brain doesn't work that way. So I would put it to you that sense of tidiness needs to apply to every part of your business. Accessibility. And of course, this is accessibility for every person of all abilities. Are they able to get around? I mean, at the very basic level, we're talking about the width of the aisles in your store. And is it possible to navigate your aisles? But then we're also talking about wheelchair access and other access in all aspects of your business. The sensory experience. Remember, the senses all have an impact on how we can influence customers. And as I said this in episode 1, where we can seduce, we can romance, we can incentivize, we can inspire our customers to buy from the senses. And here I'm talking about sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. They all influence, I believe, the smell being the one that has the biggest impact on our memories. So be mindful of the sensory experiences for your customers when they enter your physical establishment. Why does Marriott around the world have its own fragrance? And there's a uniqueness in the Marriott fragrance that apparently is in every Marriott hotel around the world. And then, should you consider experience zones within your store again within your property, I should say, whether it be for demo areas, focal points where customers can try things out, or reasons to linger. Again, in Paco's book, he talks about where you might park the gentlemen while the women are shopping, for example. I'm going to remind you about that book again. Please do check it out. The first book is Why We Buy. It's absolutely jam-packed with great ideas around physical layout in the mind of the customer. And also his follow-up book, which is Call of the Mall, where he actually starts right outside on the road and approaching the car park and the impact of the car park on that shopping mall. So there's great insights there for all of us, particularly to do with place for your physical property. The second part of place I want to focus on is digital. And here we're talking about online. Now, I personally was booking a hotel recently, and I went directly onto the hotel website because I have lots of hotel clients, and I know there's more margin for them if I book directly with the hotel rather than going through a booking.com type of site. But this website was clunky. It was really difficult to navigate. It wasn't at all easy. I mean, I know Amazon is the extreme on this one where it's all about one-click purchase. That's hard for anybody else to emulate. I get that. But this particular hotel website was so clunky and awkward and slow that I just got impatient and I closed it down and I went in and booked exactly the same hotel on booking.com. Now, the impact was that hotel lost a few quid because booking.com got their margin. So be careful of your online presence. Some things to consider are the speed and navigation. These are basics here now. So navigation is moving around the different pages, but of course speed is also important. That because we're living in an age now where people are moving so fast and they don't have the patience anymore to wait. Mobile first design, because so many of us, we start with our mobile phone before we go to our desktop, because we're moving around, we're on trains, we're on buses, we're standing talking to each other, and we jump on the phone as a first port of call. So is your website truly mobile friendly? Seamless integration between the online and offline. Is there a joined up message for your customers? For example, click and collect if you're a retailer. Customer engagement tools, like do you have live chat on your website where your customers can interact in real time rather than just sending an email? I personally am exploring this right now with a bot where I'm considering a voice bot on my website, which will immediately give customers a response there and then. Yes, there'll be other ways that they can make contact through email, telephone, and so on, but the live bot is real time. Also then consider trust signals like security badges, reviews, and clear contact options, because there are so many scam websites out there. Can your customers verify that you are really who you are? And then I'm also going to touch on the ease of transaction, that the number of clicks that it takes to buy something from you or indeed to make contact. So that's a summary, therefore, just on things to consider for your online presence. That's the second element of place. I now want to move on to the third element of place, which is to do with B2B businesses, where you don't have a physical property where your customers might come to and make a judgment, but you're going to them. So it's your route to market. I always remember here a particular hotel we were working with. Now, we were working through a culture program with them, and we identified that there were silos in this particular hotel. And there were divisions, and the housekeeping guys were always in conflict with others, and so on. But the housekeeping guys in particular were always getting told off for being late with their rooms, the preparation of the rooms. So when guests were coming to check in at the appointed time, which I think was 3:00 in this case, often it would happen that reception had to ask the customer to wait, that the room wasn't ready yet. And this is causing terrible friction between reception and housekeeping. So the general manager decided to explore what was going on. And there was, after some unkind words, he was told that in housekeeping, they were waiting for the linen to arrive. And the linen was arriving late to this particular hotel. And this is causing terrible stress for the housekeeping. And what the housekeeping team had to say about the linen supplier, as in the people who washed and cleaned the linen, what they had to say about the linen supplier wasn't very favorable. So in their mind, in this housekeeping team's mind, the linen supplier was a pain in the neck, and they only had unkind things to say about them. So this, in a B2B scenario, the linen company had a bad reputation. Now, it turned out the fix was very easy. It turned out that this particular linen company had a cycle, a route, where they delivered to hotels every day. But they were putting too much in the truck, that it was causing an overflow in their timing. They weren't getting to the hotels on time. This particular hotel I'm talking to you about got a change to the roster, so they themselves ensured the deliveries came earlier. And that's fixed the hotel's problem. But the linen company, they were still faced with the problem that they needed to fix, because they were creating a bad impression on their brand with their customers. And this is a typical example, very basic, very simple, of how in a world of B2B, you need to be considerate of your route to market. So a few things to consider if you're a B2B business: your deliveries and your logistics. You got to think about punctuality, reliability, and tracking. Are you doing all of these things to ensure that you're giving the best service that you can? Because in here, you might be able to develop a USP, just like our friends in B2C, and just like with online. We're looking for things that you can do at a very basic level, get them right day in, day out, but there might even be opportunities for you to develop a USP around some of these. Reports and collateral. For example, if you are a professional services company and you're sending out reports, what do those reports look like? What does your collateral look like in terms of colors, layout, professionalism? Does it match your brand and all of that? the accessibility of your people. So when customers phone you, do they get an answer quickly? Can they get to the right people that they need to get to in a prompt way? Is it easy for them to reach the right person? Also, portals and dashboards, if you are making these available to your customers, are they easy to read, easy to follow, easy to navigate? And after sales and support, do you have quality after sales and support if it's relevant in your business? Finally here, consistency. Every channel has got to reflect the same standards of excellence. So be very, very careful. Don't assume that place is not important just because you're B2B. So in summary, this is the final episode in this series. I want to say again, step 6 of my 7 steps to profit is proposition. This is where, having done all the great work around culture, strategy, people, and customer, this is your proposition. This is what you're selling. And this is what you're doing to get money from your customers. And I'm going to remind you again, this is made up of a 3-legged stool framework to help guide your thinking around how can you develop uniqueness and how can you differentiate from your competitors. And my belief is you can do that under product, people, and place. You may be able to spot opportunities to be unique under product, but don't exclude people. You may be able to identify opportunities to differentiate yourself and develop uniqueness around people, and similarly with your place. But my challenge to you is to take time out in this quiet part of the summer. Take time out. Reflect on your business under the 3 legs of the stool. Ask yourself the basic questions. What's this like for the customer? How might the customer be judging you? Just using the checklist that I gave you, ask yourself, how might the customers judge you under those elements? Because the reality is they are judging you. We all fall into the trap of being so operationally focused, doing whatever we do to drive our business. And sometimes we forget. And like I said, a quiet time of the year like August is a good time to take time out, reflect, and look back in at our own business. So use the checklists in the 3 episodes to reconsider where are you at under all 3. That's it from me. Thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you next week, where we will be chatting to a guest and to give you some more insights from the boardroom. Thanks again. Have a great day. Most businesses aren't failing because of bad ideas. They're stuck because great ideas aren't landing. The culture says one thing, the strategy says another, and the customer is often caught in the middle. That's why I created the 7 steps to profit. It's a practical business framework to solve all of that. It's not another off-the-shelf solution. It's a proven transformation framework that joins the dots across culture, strategy, leadership, customer, people, and execution, with the tools and the structure to make it stick. It's backed by 30 years of frontline experience and real research. It isn't just theory, it's traction. Our support is also enhanced by our own organization health assessment linked to the 7 steps, and that will give you clarity on what you need to do and to work on in your business. If you're ready for real alignment, measurable progress, and execution discipline, visit 7 Steps to Profit, that's the number 7, 7stepstoprofit.com, and book a no-strings discovery call. Thanks again. Have a great day.